What is up, guys? I'm Jay, and this is season 2, episode 3 of the Trading Floor podcast. Unfortunately, Christy is away. She's sick for the week, but you're going to be seeing this the next week. We always record the week before. So hopefully, by this time that you're seeing this, Christy is all healthy. Send her a get well soon card. Hopefully, that works. But anyway, I was looking back in the podcast topics and I realized we kind of we've kind of missed over one major topic, and that's crypto. And like, who other than to talk about crypto and then bring on the man himself, Arty, the crypto fiend. What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Yeah, so I'm really interested about this. I'm very curious about your hot takes on some of the topics that we're going to be going over. But before we get started on that matter, what I want to say is that everything we talk about here is not financial advice. I do want to make that clear. This is educational content. So please, if you find any topic interesting, just do your own research and formulate your own educated opinion. So what I'm going to start off with is talking kind of about the general view of crypto in my eyes, and then we're going to go over like some more things, especially blockchain technology. I'm kind of interested to see what your take on that, because that's kind of like really spearheading its way into the landscape, and a lot of people don't really know about that. But not to put the horse before the carriage here, let's talk about crypto first. So if we were here last year, I mean, in October, it was looking very dire. I remember on the daily time frame on Bitcoin, I had drawn a huge bearish daily trend line starting from the peak in November 2021, I believe, when it was around 68,000. It completely tanked. Everybody was scared. It rallied back up, I think, around end of March of last year, 2022. It hit 48,000 and then tanked again. Everybody got scared. And then recently, in I believe it was early October of last year, it had touched that line again for the third time around 20,000. And honestly, like, the next level I had for Bitcoin was like 13,500. And I saw it going there. Everybody was in mass pandemonium. You saw all the YouTube videos like crypto's over with, crypto's done for. But like, well, I mean, what was your take on it? It was kind of a crazy time.
I saw the downtrend. I held through the whole thing because I just like accumulating. My bottom for this bear run after it broke that like $29,000-$30,000 level, looking left was like around the December 2020 era. There was a lot of consolidation right around 18,000. And that's pretty much where it sat for a while. And then once it broke out of my downtrend, I was like, cool, we're good. It's going to consolidate for a little bit. We might shoot up to 25. And then the whole incident happened with the exchange. We're not going to mention why. We can mention it,
Well, yeah,
right?
we could mention that.
Yeah.
It's rest RIP in peace to FTX.
Yeah. FTX screwed the pooch, and we know everything about it. And that's the glory of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, is that it's not like how it used to be when a person would embezzle from a company. They would sign, checks and go to a bank and white out the owner's name or whatever, and then write in their own. Now everything's traceable with every single transaction and every single wallet. It just takes thousands of hours to sift through the information, but it is all trackable. So, and then, once that broke, it started to hit multiple, triple, quadruple bottoms. And I was like, okay, we might gain some momentum. And then once it broke above that 18,000 range, immediately my next target was 25K. So that's what I think it's going to go to. I think it might just chill in between 25 and that 15 that it was at. Because, right, cryptocurrencies are a volatile asset. It's not like investing in the S&P 500. It's not like investing in gold. So they're more risky assets. So during times like this, when the economy's bad, inflation, all of the stuff that you're hearing in the news, people aren't going to just willy-nilly throw money at cryptocurrencies because it's a more risky asset. So I think before we start getting a actual bull run, it's going to sit and consolidate down here for a while between 25 and 15. So if you're worried that you want to get in now, you might have time to just sit.
You do. And then like I I've heard somebody talk about this, how like they've explained the financial market, like the asset market, as like a skyscraper where you have your commodities, you have your futures, indices, and forex, like all above, all on the top floor of the skyscraper, and then you have like Bitcoin down here in the basement where they're just kind of chilling, they're living their best life. They really didn't like understand, they didn't really care about the financial markets because like, hey, everything goes up, but I feel like whenever, especially when the economy, U.S. economy or any economy starts to diminish like it's doing now, that hurts crypto like way more than like Nasdaq or like the U.S. 30. And so we're
Well, yeah, because
recording.
who do you blame, right?
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
it's because Bitcoin did this. Oh, it's because a bunch of people stole a bunch of money, and they're just looking. It's the blame game, and crypto's the perfect scapegoat for that.
And so we're actually recording this on the 31st of January. And so tomorrow we'll be getting the interest rate hike. And so I'm kind of curious to see what happens here because it could be a little bit bad news for crypto. I feel like whenever we get the hike up, because markets are going to go down, obviously the indices are going to go down, and I feel like cryptos might get a little dip. So there could be an opportunity to kind of get a discount for a lot of things.
I love discounts. It's
I
dollar cost averaging. I love it.
and I mean I keep saying this, and I want to make sure like everybody knows this is like people's logic in trading and investing is so much different than the real world in the sense that whenever Black Friday comes around, everybody's happy that everything's on sale. But whenever prices come down on stocks and things of that nature, everybody freaks out and actually is so afraid to buy. But I was like, well, why? Why are you afraid to buy now? Like this is the perfect time to buy. That way you can hold because it'll always come back. But I'm kind of like, what did out of all the crypto? Because I mean, I feel like there's like 9,000 of them. I don't think majority of them are going to survive soon enough. But that's a whole nother topic in itself. But like, what is your favorite crypto? I'm kind of curious.
Um, I have multiple actually, but hands down my favorite is Ethereum
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everything else is basically built on Ethereum. They got to pay gas fees to do any transactions, any smart contract. I got a buddy that his job is to literally build smart contracts. So he gets commissioned on these projects, talks with huge teams, builds the smart contract, and then, makes 6 or 7 alteration, makes a bunch of money. And then it's a new cryptocurrency. And it's just constantly pumping out these new cryptocurrencies, but they're all the transactions are all done on Ethereum. So, um, when Ethereum was rallying up, what did people need Ethereum for? What were the
hmm
gas fees used on? It was used on NFTs, right? Because NFT market was exploding. So Ethereum subsequently went up like crazy because everybody was buying it up. And then, a thunk, it dropped and NFTs are
the fun
out. And
stopped.
yeah, people
The
aren't buying
curtain, the curtains.
buying a picture for $250,000. So, the extra income is now going to pay for expensive eggs and higher gas prices. And that's pretty much why, like, during, like you said, Black Friday, people like to buy things on
Mm,
sale. It's because that, $1,000 TV is now $250, which isn't much to a lot
it's
of
a
people.
steal.
It's a steal, but if you're most people get the misconception that you can't buy, just a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of Bitcoin. You got, oh, I have to own one. Like
Yeah,
that's
no,
arbitrary. You buy as much as you can and just dollar cost average over time. And eventually you'll look at your wallet and you'll be like, wow, I got a lot of Bitcoin. And then when you're 60,
yeah.
you'll be like, dude, I'm rich.
No, I completely agree. But can like kind of segue into that rich part. So I kind of want to do a little segment with you. So hypothetically speaking, obviously, because you're not in this scenario, if you'd have to start over with no crypto investments, but you have the knowledge that you do now and what's going on, how would you go about investing? Because I feel like people are could be pretty interested in this.
It depends on what your level of income is. If you're making minimum wage, like you're not going to get rich off of crypto, you're going to accumulate a little bit, and that's completely fine. But with all the technology at your disposal, like a lot of people think that, I made it because I'm lucky and all of this. No, I have the same access to the internet that everybody else has. Everybody has the exact same opportunity that I do. So if you can come up with other vehicles to earn extra income, whether it's through affiliate marketing or making a YouTube channel or whatever you want to do, doing freelance work on Fiverr or Upwork, you can take that money and every single week buy Ethereum with that money because it's supplementary income against your normal income. You live off of your normal income. You have a set salary, you have set wages, you have set expenses, so you can live off of that. If you're bringing in extra money, I would just seriously dollar cost average at this point because we've had so much volatility since the inception of Bitcoin. And I feel like prices eventually will flatten out just like US 30, just like NAS 100, where you get nice consistent flows over time. And that's, maybe 5-10 years down the line where we're getting consistent price. But if you can accumulate as much as you can right now through supplemental income, that would be the best bet. If you do have, let's say, an extra $50 a week that, like, if it fell out of your pocket, you wouldn't mind. If you'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
whatever, I lost $50. It fell out when I pulled out my cigarettes. And take that money and always follow either viral threads on Twitter or Reddit for new upcoming coins. And once you see, like, spend the $50, buy as many billions of the crappy coins that you can. And once you see the price do this, where it's just a parabolic spike, sell. You'll make 50, 60, 100%, and then walk away and then look for the next opportunity, because these viral mini market cap coins, sometimes they could go huge. Most of the time they're going to die amongst the huge giants like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for quick money, don't risk the bankroll, risk $50, because if you lose it, you lose it. I've done that numerous times, and a couple of them actually played out. Like, I remember when Chainlink first came out, everybody was talking about Chainlink. I made a bunch of money off of Chainlink, and then I sold it. I made a bunch of money off of Shiba. That thing went parabolic, and I sold it off. I did the same thing with Dogecoin. I did the same thing
The
with
little doggo.
Cardano. Yeah, like anything that was popular, and you could see what's popular because crypto YouTubers are making nonstop content about it and getting 250,000 views per video in a day. If
Oh
that's
yeah,
the fact,
it's
buy
super
it
hype right
and
now.
then sell it a week later. It's a quick transaction. Don't fall into the cult army of, oh, this is revolutionary technology.
Hodl. Hodl.
Oh my God, it's the worst decision you could possibly make. So yeah, get the top two, Bitcoin and Ethereum, stack as much as you can with supplemental income. Don't put yourself in debt over it. And then if you want to play the lotto, go for these small. Just follow like the top 10 crypto
Yeah.
YouTubers and whatever they're talking about and getting 250,000 views, buy that, sell it a week later or once it parabolic spikes.
I will say too is that going into the next topic of blockchain technology, I mean, XRP and XLM are two pretty good options too, and they're insanely cheap right now. I think XRP's roughly around 40 cents, and I believe XLM's roughly around like,
40.16.
oh, I'm sorry.
Get it
So
right.
God forbid. And then I think XLM, like, don't hate me on this, but I think it's around 9 cents. God forbid it's like 9.1 or something. But but I mean, those, honestly, in my opinion, I've been slowly stacking up on those cryptos because I feel like blockchain technology is literally here. And we wouldn't even know it because you don't know, like, for example, if you're paying for something, you don't truly know how it's being moved from source to source. Like, we could already be in a blockchain technology, like, not fully integrated, but I think it's here. So for those who are very new to this type of thing with crypto, blockchain technology is not cryptocurrencies. Let me get that straight. So blockchain is the underlying technology that helps drive crypto. Think of blockchain basically as the engine and crypto as the car. Arty can probably explain this way better than me in simple terms, even though I'm trying to explain in simple terms. But I do think that this is the new wave, and you're starting to see this a lot in news and like hints of economies kind of switching to this. And just to kind of give some examples of the way that it's being integrated, like think of PayPal. Like everybody knows of PayPal, but the problem with PayPal is that it's centralized to where whenever you make a payment, it's on one single point. So if that one single point fails, you're screwed. So with blockchain, it's decentralized. So what that means is that whenever you make a payment, that data is duplicated automatically in different servers in different regions. And so like if one region fails, you still can access that information. It's still viable. And so
Let me jot in 1 second.
yeah,
If you
no,
guys want a visual representation of this, look at Jay's screen behind him. Imagine each one of those dots on the land is a computer that holds the database. So if one of them goes down, all of the rest of them have a copy of this. So each one, every single block gets a new updated copy of all the records.
I know I chose this picture for a reason. No, but I mean, it's literally gonna, I don't want to say it's gonna take over the world like it's a virus, but I feel like this is the way that even businesses and even central banks are moving towards, because it is basically a digital ledger. If you don't know what blockchain is, think of it kind of as like an almost like an accounting book. Whenever you make transactions, you jot down all the data. It doesn't even have to be just financial things. It could be intangible things like intellectual things. It's just data in general. So majority of the concepts right now, it's focused more on financial the aspects of it, but it you can literally store anything. But basically what it is, like already said before, you can record any type of data that you want, especially on things like Ripple that we can kind of go over. They are a one of the I mean one of the, if not the leading company in the blockchain technology, and their idea is you have to have permission, like you have to give people permission in order to be on the network. So this is perfect for banks and financial organizations of that matter. But the problem now with businesses is that businesses obviously run on information. And so the faster it's received and the more accurate it is, the better it is for that business, obviously. And right now, um, businesses are slower in that regard just because you have to have duplicate record keeping of it. There's third party validations, and they're just subject to fraud and cyber attacks. While for blockchain technology, it's a network that you can allow people on. And so, like, everybody sees the end to end transactions. There's no third party validation in that regard. So it's just quicker in general. And I feel like that's where we're moving. Like, what do you think about that, Artie?
Yeah, I mean, it's super practical for a lot of businesses to do this because let me give you a dumbed down example. When I was growing up, my parents had hotels, right? And so every single guest registration card was filled out with a pen or a pencil on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper was filed in a folder. Then we moved to computers and had, all the reservations coming in online and everything, and it made the process much simpler. We had a Best Western, so Best Western had a record of every single, guest that we had, and that's how they calculated their commission. So it was very streamlined between the main database, Best Western, and our computers. And so if we ever had a virus, computer shut down, we just get a backup from Best Western. That's the super dumbed down version, but
Mm-hmm.
it's super applicable, especially when I started to get into cryptocurrencies and blockchain. The number one benefit I saw in a practical use was one of the largest um, freight companies in the world. The big boats
Mm-hmm.
with the gajillion containers on them going to and from China, America, whatever. There was, I mean, billions of dollars of lost products or stolen products every single year. And it was kind of calculated into their numbers at the end of the year that we allot for this much to get lost or stolen,
It's
because the
crazy.
tracking between ports, between different
Mm-hmm.
shipping containers, what get unloaded, what gets offloaded, Whereas now they're starting to incorporate the blockchain with that company. So every container would, let's say, have a QR code. So as that shipping container or that whole freighter docks, everything gets scanned and everything's tracked at every single point. So you can see exactly where one thing was lost or misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's probably shipping containers from 20 years ago laying somewhere in Singapore that no one's ever touched. And it's just under 5,000 other containers.
Yeah, I need
And
to
so
go
the
diving.
practical use of that is, yeah, right. The practicality of businesses using these ledgers to basically just keep track of everything and be more cost effective, have a better flow, have better operations, and have a better ROI and better, balance sheets at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's common sense. And the fact that, especially with NFTs, even, that's all recorded. And I know a lot of people think NFTs are only JPEGs and that you can download and show off that you spent $1 million on a monkey,
I'm kind of one of
but
those
it's
guys, but I mean,
but the things that my colleague that works with me here, he's doing in a lot of his smart contracts and these NFTs is like Ticketmaster. Eventually Ticketmaster is going to run solely off NFTs, where every single ticket that you buy is an NFT. You have digital proof that you are the owner, and you can transfer said digital proof to someone else instead of, this ticket scalpers in front of the event and whatever. And
yeah.
even movie tickets and airline tickets and everything. That's one of the most practical use cases for NFTs and blockchain. And I think the whole world's going to be using it because it's so efficient. Everything
Well,
can be recorded.
like I feel like we've honestly just become digital already, and you can just use money in its own right. I don't know about you, but I mean here at least, I'm in Louisiana, so like I feel like in the US, I don't carry money on me anymore. It's just straight card. It's just straight like debit card or credit card. Like I rarely, if anywhere, like will actually go to the bank, grab money, and then use that to purchase it. Unless like it's like a birthday or something, and I'm just like like I get like 10, $20 or whatever. I feel like we've already kind of transitioned more into that digital world anyway. And so like this is just another step to kind of solidify it, I guess you could say. But what I didn't cover too, another advantage of blockchain is that there's super small like transactional fees with it, and no matter like how much money you send over, whether it's $1, whether it's 1 million, it's the same fee. And for like companies like PayPal, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere upwards to 3% of whatever of the money that you transact. So that's a huge advantage too. But what I will say is, even though blockchain technology is emerging, it still lacks the control and regulation so far. And with that being said, I'd like to go into our next very controversial topic that you'd probably love to talk about. It's the SEC suing Ripple back in December of 2020. That's been going on for a while, but I feel like it's garnered a lot of headlines recently with Ripple making waves in other central banks. And I'm pretty sure the owner of Ripple even kind of stated that this year in June we should have a verdict on what the SEC rules for Ripple. I'm not gonna go. I mean, you can go more into detail about the actual lawsuit. I wasn't really gonna go into that detail. You can Google the lawsuit and kind of figure out everything in that regard. But I feel like there's an interesting thing happening with blockchain and especially in the US, but blockchain is definitely more welcomed, I feel like, everywhere except the US right now.
Yeah. I got some opinion because at the time when that lawsuit started with XRP or Ripple, um, I was making YouTube videos on cryptocurrency 3 times a day for a cryptocurrency exchange. And I mean, I started doing some digging because I wanted to kind of do my research to be
Hmm.
more informed about it. And I didn't, I'm a conspiracy theory nut kind of
Oh,
guy.
same,
So when I
same.
see, this specific cryptocurrency is being adopted by, XYZ hedge funds, billionaires, tycoons, moguls, companies,
Hmm.
countries. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a lot of manipulation here, and there's also going to be just Illuminati everywhere. And then
Yeah, obviously that comes with the territory.
when I read this one article, I couldn't bring it up if my life depended on it, but essentially one of the co-founders, Jed McCaleb, when he was forced to leave the company, there was a stipulation to his departure that he couldn't sell off his 9 billion XRP that he had because it would crash the market. And so he was limited to selling, I don't know, 2 or 4 million a month or something. And so it took him a long time to sell off all of his XRP. But somebody that founded the company that knows all of the information, how it was built and everything, and all the companies that they're working with, and he wanted to sell everything off and not hold it,
Yeah.
it's kind of a red flag for me. And so I was very, very anti XRP for a while. And I got a ton of flack from the XRP army. Dude,
They're
the
big,
comment section
especially
would
now. They're
just
huge.
seriously, if they like showed up to where I work, they would probably just, you know. So I'm still biased against it. I can see the benefit of it, but I prefer other cryptocurrencies, even if it does go to the moon at the current price that it's at.
Hmm. I mean,
I still
they're
wouldn't I still wouldn't trust my money, a large chunk of money. I would trust a small chunk of money. I would put 10 grand in XRP right now and not even hesitate. But if I'm dumping, 250,000, no way. I'd rather do it in Ethereum.
no, I agree in that regard, but I've been kind of keeping my eye on XLM because I'm pretty sure an old co-founder of Ripple founded XLM, aka Stellar. If y'all are looking into that, but um, I think in that regard, kind of talking about both Ripple and Stellar, people kind of get confused with the two in the correlation with XRP and XLM. They're technically not the same, but they are, right? Like how Ripple is technically just
It's the
um
same guy, Jed
it
Jed McCaleb. Okay. There's a deep rabbit hole here.
gee. This is just gonna turn from crypto. This is just gonna like a nice crypto talk into just a deep rabbit hole
Let's
conspiracy.
bring on CoffeeZilla and have him investigate Jed
True,
McCaleb. That would be
true. But I feel like people and even me in that regard until like for the longest time, I just thought Ripple was XRP, but technically it's not really XRP. Like Ripple is just the company that is aimed to help move money around globally, like transactional wise. And XRP is just the cryptocurrency that they had also created and founded to use as like the neutral kind of cryptocurrency, I believe, to
yeah.
make that
So
happen.
it's just the name, right? So
Yeah.
Johnson and Johnson makes XYZ product.
Yeah.
Ripple, their coin is XRP. A lot of people, you might not know this, Ethereum is not called Ethereum. Ethereum is the company. The coin is Ether, right?
Lies. No.
So, and then the thing that cost the transaction is called the gas. So they're all base cryptocurrencies off of something else.
Yeah. And so what yeah, I just kind of wanted to clear that up for people. And I just wanted to also go over this too, is just to give y'all some examples for y'all to research this, is that while all the big corporations in the US and like all the major heads were saying like crypto is terrible, like you shouldn't invest in this. Like you had JP Morgan, like Chase Bank, literally creating their own blockchain. It's called Onyx in like 2020. You have literally central banks. Like there's three of them right now. I mean, I can't really remember. Like I know Montenegro literally the other day partnered with Ripple in trying to create their own central bank digital currency. I feel like that is kind of the wave right now in Europe is kind of going about that. You have BRICS right now that's going completely crazy trying to form their own universal uh, currency, which would probably be another central bank digital currency. And there's just like even going back to Ripple, like American Express is working with them right now, Bank of America, the Royal Bank of Canada, SBI Holdings, which is a Tokyo bank, Standard Chartered Bank, which is in London. Like there's even the company IBM is like working with Stellar, which is XLM, and they're adopting practices for that type of blockchain. So it's literally it's here, and I feel like it's here to stay. Obviously, it needs to have some control regulation, but it's a new time. Even Web3. I don't know if you know about Web3 interface that's coming soon already, but even I've seen in the this is another thing too is the WEF recently had its meeting in Davos, Switzerland. WEF is the World Economic Forum. Basically, these are all the elites of the world, the billionaires, people that like kind of like the owner of BlackRock, who like they hold like trillions of dollars, like big companies. Where it's basically just a huge gathering for them to rub shoulders and talk about things. And they were bringing up Web3, implementation of Web3. They were talking about blockchain technology. And like they were literally throwing out hints all over the place. And you could find it on a lot of YouTube. A lot of YouTube people covered this who are in the financial space. So you can find that if you Google it. But interestingly enough, JP Morgan has a YouTube channel itself. It's not really known. I think it only has like 50K subscribers, but they have their own video talking about
Weak.
Web3. Yeah, like come on, like you're not even the six figures, bro. Like how much money you have? Like no, but you can go on YouTube and literally search it. And, like they have a video called Web3 Explained, and it's kind of like the immersion of the new internet, like the new well, not the internet, but the World Wide Web, because you had Web 1, which was literally the implementation of the internet where the consumer, aka us, would go on the internet. You couldn't edit anything, you could just view things. Like there was already pre-made websites that you could just you couldn't interact with it, you could just go on and view. Web 2 came out, which was the integration, basically the .com bubble, where you can create your own websites, you can interact with people and do things of that nature. And Web 3, uh, don't hold me accountable with this because I don't. It's been a while since I watched that video. I think it was a couple months back, but it basically gives you the ownership of anything that you make in the sense that I believe if you so happen to have like an Instagram account with I don't know 50K like followers and you just make a Twitter account, I believe that you're able to integrate that entire thing to where like it's like all of your Instagram followers are converted into Twitter followers, which is kind of crazy to think about. I don't know how that would go about it. I'm pretty sure they gave that as an example, but it's a crazy time.
It's safety and security, right? And
Yeah.
it's ownership and it's trackable ownership. So many creators on YouTube have been banned for the things that they say because they're hot topics or people disagree with them. And the loudest 2% of the loudest 2% of the population, they make the most amount of noise and they can easily get somebody canceled. You know, I've seen hundreds of YouTubers get canceled and they can't get back on YouTube without getting a ban. Occasionally
Mm-hmm.
there's short form videos of theirs, but that's what it is. If you have your own web internet based real estate that you own that nobody can shut down, that's a lot of strength. I think it's going to make huge progress in a lot of what you see in today's age with censorship and all of that. But I mean, it's so multifaceted, even transactionally. I live in Europe. A majority of, you know, my income comes from YouTube and other affiliate programs and whatever, and that's all based in the US. And so when I want to move money to Poland, if I didn't have cryptocurrencies or anything like that, I would have to use Western Union or a wire transfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Western Union limits you to $5,000 unless you get some premium wow package and like ultra verified where they like take blood samples or something. You're limited to $5,000 per day. What if you're making $100,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
To transact all that is impossible. And the transaction fee for $5,000 is $50. It's not a small transaction fee. It's quite big. But after the whole um FTX fiasco, I was like, I really don't trust a lot of exchanges. And I got a lot, like I had, I don't know, 50% of my crypto on a ledger. And I just decided to take it all off just to let the water, settle down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved like $520,000 worth of crypto at that time. And I moved it all to this thing. Moving that much money with
You mind
Western
shipping?
Union.
You mind shipping that over here? Like,
Yeah,
I just want to look at it.
it's the transaction fee I calculated because I moved Bitcoin and Ethereum. Everything else I sold off and I moved it to those two assets. Cost me $50. The whole thing. That's insane. You can't do that anywhere else. No bank will do
No.
that type of transaction. You'll get investigated not like for months before that transaction gets validated. Even if you had $1 million in your bank, it's not like they have it sitting there. They've already loaned that money
Mm-hmm.
out. It's in the ether. And if you go to a bank and you want $1 million, it's impossible to get. You'd have to go through like 20 verifications, schedule an appointment so they can have the money shipped there, close the bank for you to like armed guards and everything. It's not going to happen. But with this, like I could send Jay $1 million right now. It would
And
cost me like $4.
I wouldn't complain either. That's
I
crazy.
bet. And then he could send it back to me, just a proof of transaction
Just because,
minus finder's
just to
fee.
spite him. Like, I don't need this. No,
So
but
yeah, I mean, if I owned all of my audience and I own all of my currencies and I am intelligent enough to be my own bank, because that's what you are at that point. I am my own bank. I have guns and security systems and cameras everywhere protecting me and my assets. So if you have your crypto on, I don't know, an Android A5 Samsung, it's a bad place to hold your cryptocurrencies. But if you're safe and you're smart and you hold all of your assets and you own all of your audience and Web3 and everything, you can detach from society and you don't have to
yeah,
really worry about people taking your house because your house is going to be on a smart contract. The property that you live on, smart contract. All the government agencies are going to be working with smart contracts and this and that. Real estate agents are basically dead because you could do a real estate transaction with a smart contract and everything's verified. There's no worry of money transaction. I bet this is an off top. I bet
no,
drug
go in.
dealers use amazing blockchain technology to do all of their transactions instead of bringing $8 million, in unmarked $100 bills to a weird location. I bet it's just shipped and then a Bitcoin transaction happens.
Well, I'm pretty sure
Just saying.
that was the main use for Bitcoin back in like 2010 era before kind of Bitcoin was it was just kind of like a it's like, oh, what is that? Like, what is this being used for? So I'm pretty sure that was its initial purpose back then was for that. But I kind of have two things to bring up from what you talked about, just kind of like drive home even more is, yeah, for blockchain, global accessibility is like the biggest thing. Because honestly, I mean, call me ignorant, but I mean, here in the U.S., I don't really realize how limited a lot of people are outside of that regard. Where if you didn't have crypto, like a lot of countries you can't use PayPal and you can't use other things, but like crypto's completely fine. That's what's good about that. That's what opens up the world to being able to like be their own bank, like you're saying. Plus, I think you want to talk
Even
about this
global
too.
commerce.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
I think you want to talk about this too is the fact that you need to make sure before you start buying crypto, check your broker to make sure you can send and receive crypto. Because if you can't, then it's not necessarily your crypto. And I won't say you could be in danger. You could be in danger. So you want to talk about that?
yeah, so I buy cryptocurrencies on exchanges. I've gone through three or four. I settled on Binance. It was the most consistent with me every time. Like, I don't like Coinbase because every time there was huge volume or a huge drop, they would basically like shut it down and be like, sorry, you guys can't access anything until the volatility was over and then you could access it. But at that time, price was already down 20%. And so I had a lot of money flowing in through other accounts. And so I was using those other platforms where you could buy cryptocurrencies. It's the fake cryptocurrency. It's not, it's just the dollar equivalent of that cryptocurrency. So you could buy it at this level, sell it at
Hmm.
another level, but you never actually had the crypto. You just had the dollar equivalent of it. And at one point, I got locked out of my account. And it was super strange to me. And I was like, this is not right. I can't access my money and I don't like it. And it was on this process took several months. I'm thinking like 4 months. And at the time when they finally sent me an email saying that I could um, take my money out, but I had 24 hours to do so. And so, it wasn't, it was a decent amount, like not a huge chunk of money, but more than most people make in a year. And they told me that I had 24 hours to sell um, all of the Ethereum that I bought on there. And the price that I was told to do that at was $1,080, which is the perfect double bottom of where Ethereum was. Like it literally perfect double bottom. And since that point, Ethereum is now up
I think it's at like 20 ish.
15, it's at 1593. So it's up
More you know.
44%. So I lost because that money had to be transferred into a Polish account, and I didn't trust any Polish exchange to buy cryptocurrencies. So that money, like it was a wash. I was dollar cost averaging all the way down, and then they were like, "You have to sell." And so I kind of got screwed. I lost tens of thousands of dollars out of that transaction, but it more solidified my need to be more secure with my money and not
Yeah, cold wallet
not
for sure.
not not buy things in specific places. And if it's not your if it's not your key, it's not your crypto. If you can't at any second in the day make a transaction with your private key, then you shouldn't be holding a substantial amount of money there. If you got PayPal or Cash App or whatever, and you want to,
Hmm.
buy $100 of Bitcoin, go for it. That's completely fine. But understand that at some points, the market's going to be manipulated by these huge corporations, and they're going to lock you out of your account, just like that whole fiasco with Robinhood
Hmm.
and the GameStop. It was just there's manipulation happening. It's always going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. And you need to prevent yourself from being a part of the statistic and take control of your money.
Yeah.
Educate yourself front and back, side to side. If you don't feel that you're either intellectual enough to do that, then don't get in the game. But if you are and you want to move money and you want to grow like that, you gotta spend at least 1,000 hours researching everything
Hmm.
about blockchain, be up to date with all the news, check coin market cap once a day, check the headlines, see what Elon Musk is tweeting about, because that's going
I
to
feel
make
like in
some.
every other market, like you can get away with not checking news, but crypto, like you can make or break with news, especially if you do choose kind of some of the riskier bets on like a lot of the altcoins. Like news is basically the main driver for a lot of these things.
Yeah.
But
So it's a hairy topic, man. If you're
yeah.
if you're not if you got a weak stomach, don't get into crypto. I've been in this for years and years and years, and I still managed to get screwed out of 60 grand. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and what we recommend is cold wallets. So obviously do your own research. There's basically two major companies that offer cold wallets that you could buy. I believe Ledger, so Ledger, and Trezor, I think
Hmm.
Trezor.
Um, one thing you guys got to be careful with. This is a ledger. Let me bring it up to the camera, maybe. No? Yeah, it's too dark in this room.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like a USB flash drive. You have to make sure that you're buying this uh at a
Ledger
proper licensed
Ledger.com. Yeah.
at the website, not some fake website, not eBay. Because what people do is they'll buy a ledger from the website, have it shipped to their house,
Mm-hmm.
change the information on here, and then sell it on eBay at a discount, like, oh, 10% off a ledger. I could save some money. And then you deposit all of your cryptocurrency in there and you look and it's gone because it's in their wallet. So
So yeah,
be very careful
please
with
please
this.
make sure you buy from the official Ledger website. Do not buy it on eBay, Amazon, anywhere else except that website. So before we wrap up this podcast, what I kind of want to ask you, Artie, is like, what do you see the future? Because I mean, it's January 31st right now, 2023. Where do you see the future of crypto going for the rest of the year? Do you think that we could potentially get in another bull run this year, or is it like more of 2024? Like what could be the price Bitcoin hits? Is it going to hit that 200,000 or like what are your thoughts on this?
Um, I don't think that we're going to get a massive bull run out of crypto in the next, I don't know, 18 months minimum. I think it's going to sit here and consolidate for a little bit. If we do go up, maximum outlook I'm looking at is the 31 to $35,000 range in Bitcoin. And that's probably by the end of the year. I think it's going to take a while for the economy to get back to normal. Like things
Mm-hmm.
really need to be normal and people need to be confident in their money to spend money on cryptocurrencies. As the world transitions and China making a digital currency, other third world countries that their hyperinflation has absolutely decimated their currency, they're using Bitcoin or Ethereum as their main currency.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more we see that start happening, the more we'll transition and give it more clout or credit, and people have more trust in it because that's what it needs. It needs trust to be like a daily transactional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Until that happens, when that happens, I maybe 5 years. I'm thinking like 5 years before we're at the 500,000, 600,000 for Bitcoin, because you got to think it is a limited supply. There's only going to be 21 million. And if
Mm-hmm.
globally we're using it, it's going to be a scarce resource. So we're not going to be dealing in Bitcoins. We're going to be dealing in Satoshis, which you can Google that, but it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a Bitcoin. And people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I got, I'll sell it to you for 3 Satoshis type of thing.
It's kind of like what
Or
Forex is now, I feel like, right? To
yeah,
where you kind of deal with the fourth decimal point in majority of like its use.
exactly. Yeah. And so, that's why I'm trying to get 10 Bitcoin for my daughter so that when she's old, she's good. But the more we move into all the countries getting digital current or forming their own digital currencies, and then Bitcoin being the front runner, it's going to be more adopted. It's going to grow faster and faster. The more digital we get, think about when we went from cash to debit cards or credit
Mm-hmm.
cards. I remember there was an old commercial from some bank, but they got Jerry Seinfeld at the gas pump and he's, trying to pump 20 bucks of gas and he hits, you know, he's not looking and then he pumps $20 even. And the guy's like, whoa, I'm impressed. But then he goes over, by a couple of cents, which is like, it was a
Yeah.
faux pas back then. Like, oh, now I got to break more than a 20 to pay for my gas. And then he just takes his card out and sticks it in the machine and pays for it. And that was unheard of. People are like, what? Why would you use this plastic thing when, and so paper's now gone. A majority of the money that is known to exist versus what's actually paper in currency is so far skewed. You have no idea. The amount of paper does not back the amount of
No.
digital that exists at all. So as we move into more digital, it gives banks more leeway to basically print more money.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we can be more, it's a good thing and a bad thing. We can track all transactions through the blockchain. Everything's monitored. But at the same token, everything is monitored. So everything about you, like when you scan your ID is going to match with your bank, with your house, what assets you own. And
Yeah,
so
that
every
digital
cent
ID
that
thing
you
is kind of
move,
scary, but I do think
but
it's inevitable.
it's 100% going to happen. Like I was
Yeah.
watching The Mandalorian, they got these little trackers because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their own digital ID, right? Like you could track them 8 parsecs away.
Yeah. That's
So,
scary though.
it is what it is, and that's where we're going. So you can either learn, adapt, and grow into it and be on top of the changes, or you can turn into one of those senior citizens that are like, back in my day, a Snickers bar used to cost a nickel. So I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be detached from everything. I'm going to be at my own bank and I'm going to, have private jets so I can do whatever I want. Or you could just,
I think
you know,
just to kind
moan
of
about
add
life.
just kind of add to that hot take, I'll kind of give another hot take of mine in that regard of that recently I saw like the I forgot what this is called, but it's like the huge like stat line sheet of showing like all the US government statistics, like the debt, the margin they have, and then like one major outlier that they showed was the ratio for like how much money per pound silver and gold are. And I'm pretty sure back I'd seen this, I think back in May of 2021, like silver was $2,000 per ounce. Gold was like 21 to $24,000 per ounce. Now, like literally, it was January 23rd, 23. It literally showed zero. Like gold and silver were worth $0 per ounce. So I think we're soon enough, and this is my guess. I think crypto could boom once they realize that, hey, we need to be backed by something that's like finite. I think crypto could be backed by gold soon. That's my theory. Like the US, I feel like the US dollar is getting to the point where like crypto is just gonna say we're just gonna we want to be backed by a hard asset instead of the US dollar. And I think that's sooner rather than later, which is kind of scary.
Uh, I just kind of had a thought about that.
Do tell.
Um, the US government loans out money to other countries, right? And they get an interest rate on it, or they borrow money from other countries, and the countries ask them how they're going to repay it. And the government's not a business, it doesn't generate any money, but it has taxable citizens. And so the government says, well, we have umpteen million, people, so that's our collateral. They're paying taxes, so you're safe to know that we can pay back the loan. And so as these countries are making their own digital currencies, I think they might actually be backed by the population and the workers and the taxpayers,
That's
which
kind
is
of
a little bit scary because it's unknown indentured servitude. But
yeah.
a lot of people are stuck in that. I mean, and a lot of people are unaware that, they're trading their time for money and they're paying taxes on that money that they earn. Whereas the people that have reached escape velocity,
Hmm.
that own 67 cars and 27 yachts and small countries, they're not being taxed. Like Nike doesn't get taxed because they have their home base in Costa Rica. So they pay a 1% tax to Costa Rica and everything else is licensed out to everybody. So their balance sheets are zero at the end of the year. They make no profits. Same with Starbucks.
Yeah.
Same with Uber. It just it's a
Nobody
it's a
told you that.
mess,
Nope.
man. I'm a conspiracy nut,
Oh,
so
dude.
maybe I'm biased, but I think
Same.
there's some
What
weird things going on, and you need to be safe, secure, and do your research and be smart. You need to be really, really smart in today's age.
I too am a conspiracy nut. Whether it's true or not, it's just fun to see what people think of that could be out there in the world with like as little information as that they have. But with that being said, I am going to put a stand to this episode before we get into any more crazy stuff
I
because I
was just
feel
about
like,
to put on
yeah,
my
no, no, no.
tinfoil hat,
We're
dude.
I was like, I just sense that we're on the brink of catastrophic failure and going to it started on crypto, but now it's gonna go into crazier stuff. But already appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about crypto because I feel
Yeah,
like
that was a
this
fun
is
episode.
I mean, this is a really hot debate right now, and I feel like it's gonna boil over soon in the summertime. So I'm curious as to what y'all think. Hopefully y'all like this style of podcast. It was kind of more news based, where we kind of tell y'all what's happened, what's happening, and then what's also potentially like outlying in future. Um, if you enjoyed this podcast, obviously if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, and then if you're on Spotify, Google, or Apple, please like and follow the podcast. That way you don't miss out on any other episodes. But with that being said, I'm gonna end it here. Next week we'll be doing our the same routine where it's more video style, where me and Christy will be going over something in the markets, and that'll be YouTube specific. But for those on Spotify, Google, Apple, and things of that nature, we'll be back in 2 weeks from now to go over another topic. So, guys, that being said, happy trading and stay safe. Peace.
See you guys.